I suppose now is as good a time as any to start putting the flooring in. I debated on this quite a bit because I wasn't sure if I wanted to cover underneath like the cabinetry and stuff, but I have enough to cover the whole van. And in some videos I've watched across YouTube and stuff, like it seems like they do put that under it just to create the protective barrier underneath. And why wouldn't I do that? I mean, you got a durable floor, you got a waterproof floor. Just cover it up, get it set for cabinetry, and then you can move on to that, so you can get the real true dimensions. Know kind of what heights you're going to be dealing with, stuff like that. So I'm going to start looking at doing this now. I got to really make close notes on where my studs are on the floor. I, for the most part, know, but I will want to make note of that just so when I'm putting in cabinetry, I know where all the studs are, and I can get as best hold as I can through both the ply and the studs. So that should give me a good firm hold to the ground, and it won't let the cabinets kind of move anywhere. They'll be super solid in case of an accident, stuff like that. So let's get started with that. I got it all vacuumed out, and we'll start looking at putting that together. Here's the stuff I got. SmartCore from Lowe's. I got 4 boxes of it. I got a really good deal on it. The guy there really helped me out. There's a couple like ripped open boxes, so he marked 3 of them down from $50 to $5, and I had to pay full price for 1 of them. And there's just like a little bit of chipping off the sides, but I'm gonna have waste anyways. I'm gonna be cutting that off, so it'll be pretty nice stuff. It's all waterproof, and it's got the click install. It's got the soft bottom, so that creates some extra like insulation in addition to kind of being softer on the foot. Not that much, but the other thing is he said I could probably do this floating in here just because of this fact that it has this soft sticky type surface on the bottom. So I think I'm just going to try floating, start out with that, see how that goes, and then kind of work outwards. And if I need to start gluing down, I can. I do just want to see how it's going to go. First and foremost though, I'm going to start at this front wall, and there's a lot of things I'm going to have to cut around. This ends up being farther back than that because of the vent, so I'm going to start up here. I want to create everything parallel, get everything kind of lined up, make sure everything fits into place. So working from this way out should be the right way to do that. So this should be a doozy over here. I don't know if anyone says that anymore, but I'm hoping it'll go okay. We'll start making these first cuts and kind of show you how we're going to do that. Starting off, I have this little cutout for the wiring that goes back, and I need to cut this notch so it'll go up to here. The piece does come out past here, so I will need to keep that in mind when I cut this. So I'll cut a notch out, and then that will slide into there. I'm trying to keep about a 1/4 inch off the base, so I'm just using a straight edge here to kind of get a feel for where that's going to line up. Try to get it as square as possible. Nothing on the base of this van is square, so I'm just trying to get the best that I can out of this and keep it as close as I can, but still get a little gap. It's not wood veneer or anything, so it's not going to need like a lot of room to expand, but it will be nice just to have that little gap in the edge there, just to try to keep things square. And that'll all be covered by cabinets. That will. So you don't need to have it perfectly square up. You also don't want it rubbing, so you do want a little bit of a gap just to allow it for flexing and things like that. So to start off, I first need to get this measurement here, about 2 5/8 from the edge. So I need to cut in 2 5/8. I'm gonna put the groove side there, And then by the end, if I do need to rip this, I'll cut that end off to fit it up against, you know, this back wall side. And then that should fit in fine. And I want to start up here because I want to get this basis point set. So I'm going to get this past the gas filler hump or whatever you want to call it. And then I'll have a line that runs out past that. Then I can attach in the next piece there and get a feel for how far off I'm going to be in there. It shouldn't be too bad because this runs fairly parallel, but I do want to see before I start putting everything together just what that gap's going to be once I place this in here and get this set up. 2 5/8 in by 2 15/16 out. Alright, well, let's cut that notch. And then the next thing we're going to have to do is figure out that cut. And that'll be jigsaw too, just getting that cut on the line. So to get this contour, I had to get my piece cut. I did have to notch this part out because there's a piece that extends, of course, down underneath there, and this will go into the foam, and there's like a stop piece of metal there that stops it there. So I basically measure it in from that point to my edge here, measure that, and then the width of the actual piece, which is 5 inches, comes out to here. So I measure to this point, and then I get the 2 points there, and I'll cut along that line. It's kind of a rough drawn line, but it comes up pretty smooth there, so I gave myself a little leeway to do some trimming, but that should be good. Okay, I got that first piece cut in there. Did pretty good. We'll have to fill in a little caulk back in that corner just because of the way it falls. But the next thing I want to do is I want to line all my edges up with this front edge because it's the squarest edge I can run off of to keep them straight going down. So I'm using my square to keep it flat on this edge. I am going to have to glue this down. There's just no way around it. It just moves too much, and the edges aren't flat enough to put spacers in back behind it. So I'm going to glue that down, get that kind of set in place, and then I can start moving off of that a little bit more confident. I'm going to use this Power Grab All-Purpose Express, so it's 0-second instant grab, and it's for all different types of material, mostly interior work. So this should be more than enough to get this thing started. It's like you need to cut half the fucking tip off to make any kind of decent bead. Wiring harness lifted up. Get this flush. Get my square. Okay. It's pretty square. Next I butted up this edge to where it has to lie flush, and I measured out from here to see how far out this cut needs to come, and then I just followed that contour out around. Again, I'm leaving myself a little room, and I'll cut that out, get that form fitted in. Okay, Okay, now this piece was terrible. Not sure of a different strategy. I just had to trace out general dimensions and just continue to shave off pieces in order to get these two pieces to lie flush. That's my square part. I need to get that square. So everything else down the line, I just had to keep shaving off little bits until that came flush. And it's jagged there, but that's nothing a little silicone can't fill in. There's just no way around it. It's so bumpy, it's so out of square. You just have to do what you have to do there. So now we're gonna fit this piece in, which happily does fit in pretty nice. But we will have to cut your little pieces here and here. So we're going to need a piece long enough to do that. That'll be the length from there to there, the longest parts. That's what you're going to have to cut it to. So we're going to cut a piece down to that, and then we will, make those jigsaw cuts. Okay, so I'm going to cut off an edge like this so that it matches up with my groove or my tongue part here. So I'll cut the edge off of that, and I'll go the length of that right there. So that looks like 23 inches. So we'll cut that to length, and then we'll have to make our contours for the jigsaw. I'm just standing this piece up, and I'm gonna have to freehand the lines down from that contour and down from that contour over here. That one's not as steep, so that one shouldn't be too bad. This one, get a pretty good feel for where I need to be. Misgauge that a little bit so it's not gonna lie flush. Get that cut and see how it goes now. Alright. That's good. Too bad of a gap in there. Push that in flush. Make sure that's still square. Still squared up. Well, almost the worst of it's over. So now I gotta measure from this back portion to here to get my piece that will fit in here. I am gonna have to cut a little sliver, I think, to fill in, but that's fine. No big deal there. So it's about 23 inches from there to here, and that's from this lip. So you gotta measure it from this lip here, not your tongue side. Alright, fun part's pretty much cut out. Gonna glue these pieces down and then get to work tomorrow. Alright, so now we get to do the easy stuff, which is just laying down this flat part. It's a lot of straight pieces. Got all the nooks and crannies cut out on that side, so we'll just work down the line. We'll try to create an alternate grain. Doesn't matter too much underneath the cabinetry and the bed and stuff, but in the main area you will want to have that aesthetic. So I'm going to kind of touch on that and show you how to kind of alternate your grain and alternate the pieces so it looks like a real actual hardwood floor. Starting off, I just have this little scrap piece, so this is what will start giving you the variation in length. So now that I laid that down, once I snap that in, the seam doesn't fall in the same spot, so it just looks better aesthetically. So as you're going along, you're going to want to kind of cut these at different lengths to kind of get that visual aesthetic. And as we go along, you'll want to take different lengths, cutting off your flat edge. So where the tongue is, that's going to fall into here. I'll generally cut it off, at different lengths to try to get that aesthetic. So this one was just a scrap piece off of one cut. I already had this end cut off, and I keep my groove spot. So that pretty much solves my first board there. And then you can keep going down the line and doing that, and it'll go pretty quick kind of getting this middle section done. I did move away from that power grab shit because it just does not come out of here. This fuse at all surface is much stronger as well, so that seemed to hold stuff down a bit better. So I actually started by attaching these two pieces just to make it easier to set on this first one. Throw the adhesive on the back, and then we'll tap that into place. And one thing you can do is you take a small piece of scrap, and here's the groove side, so I can actually, when I'm trying to set it, you put that into place, you grab a mallet, and you just kind of tap it in, and it'll tap down in, because it just wants to stick up a little bit when you first put it in. So when you tap it in, it locks into place, then you can kind of set it down flat. Now that I have my square set as well on this, from this back line, everything should fall into place, lie flush. You'll want to keep that edge flush, obviously, to there, because then I'll be putting a piece over that, a piece of metal, that will keep that kind of pulled down and hold that carpet into place too on the back. Right. Get some adhesive down on this. So I did clean off the bottom, I vacuumed the bottom. So now you just kind of lift it up a little bit. Get your end flush. Push it in. And see how it's just kind of raised there? This is when you want to kind of take your scrap. Give it a couple taps. There we go. Let's flush it back. Move down the line. You can see it really kind of suck into place. Gotta give that a press down. Let that glue take hold. And this stuff, this fuse, it locks stuff in really nice, really quick. So you kind of got to be quick with it. You got to be decisive, but it definitely sticks down better. Okay, so move down the line. The other thing to take note of is, so since I'll be cutting this piece off to size, I'll also have a spare piece that I can move through, go along the line, and actually snap back in backwards to get that that next kind of row to be a little bit different, so the seams don't line up. So now that I had to cut that 13-inch piece off the end, I now have this piece that will fall here, and see how the seams don't line up. So that's what you want. Another thing to look for, I just opened this box, and I'm going to try to work backwards from the way I have been, just to try to get a little bit of variation. So this one's got a chipped edge. So this was a full-size piece here. Look how I get that difference there in the seams. This way I can just chop this edge off, because I don't need this this tongue side anymore. So strip that off. I'll still get that variation, and then I can move down the line and get a little bit different structure. See, so now I'm coming back this other way, just doing a dry fit here. I got it latched in there, no seams. I'll get a nice awkward, or not awkward cut, but different size cut there. So then I'll know I'll be able to use that scrap for somewhere else to get a new line started. About halfway there now. Now I got all the shit in the way. Make sure you always have all your shit in the way. That makes it fun. So now that I'm kind of getting in the walkway, I'm laying out my pieces more, trying to get the grains to kind of match up, give a little bit of consistency, just because that's what will be showing mostly. I do like the natural, grain structure of these, like even if it's random, but this is where I'm kind of like really focusing on getting something that looks really aesthetically pleasing. Okay, so now we've run up to the edge. I just got to shave off a little bit off this, so I'll just rip that off. And then we'll get that. Looks like it'll actually fall inside that wheel, which is great. I hope it falls just inside. At least I can look. Shit. It's gonna be a little thin strip through there, unfortunately. Oh well. What can you do? Alright, so I ripped this edge off. Just been kind of keep it in place to start doing this corner piece. So I gotta cut that there. And then I've got to jigsaw at that angle. And then I'm gonna have to do that strip, which I'm really not looking forward to. Alright, got that contour cut. And wouldn't you know it, a scrap piece I have is exactly 4 1/4, which is what I needed to fit in there. So I'm just gonna cut a little bit off this backside to fit around that wheel well, and then that will slide in there, and we'll get to that. Alright, got that piece fit in. Went pretty smooth. So glad that I actually had a piece of scrap that fit exactly. It's crazy how that happens sometimes. Sometimes it just works out. Okay, we're in the final stretch here. Gotta put this last one down. I got all these pieces custom cut. I got the little baby cut for right there, 2 for back there. So this should be good to go. I'm gonna start gluing it in. I did want to dry fit it all in before I did any gluing, because it's gonna be finicky in this last section. You're gonna have to use some prying and things like that to get stuff into place. And there you have it, all installed. Never thought this day would come. It's been a long time coming to get here. Everything seems pretty secure. That was a tight fit. Not happy about that. That's all going to be hidden though. I had to pound that in. Everything else looks pretty clean though. Pretty happy with it.